Gavin. Well, a week wouldn't be complete because it's been a week of one man, and it wouldn't be complete without Countdown having Bob Geldof on the show. Bob, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Phil.
When you first put this together, did you ever dream it was going to come to this? I mean, it's almost a year, or it is exactly virtually a year since Band Aid.
No, I didn't, and maybe if you had thought about it, it would have scared you in front of it, because you're never in your wildest dreams going to imagine that it's going to be this massive global populist movement. I'm glad, but it's also wiped me out, you know.
Well, to be spurred on to such an extent to take on one undertaking like a Globathon, Wembley first, then Philadelphia, and then roping us all into a situation. Did you ever think it was going to work? Because I must admit, at that press conference, I thought, this is the impossible, and I don't think it's going to happen.
I thought it would work. It was a question of, like, you know, just translating it into reality, and luckily I got the right people.
Right. For your experience to walk out on stage at Wembley?
That was the ultimate moment. I mean, because up to that point I've been working on this whole organisational continuum, you know, phone call, everything. And then suddenly it fell into perspective. There it was, this pop singer with his band. And I, for the first time, you know, got rid of all the numbers and all that, and I suddenly saw the hugeness and the romance of it all, you know, and that was the absolute high moment for me.
Well, I mean, a lot of support from a lot of singers, people who may have been quite cynical at the start. Elton John was one, and he is very flamboyant in the middle of an album. The support he's given you?
Endless. I mean, again, people think like, oh, pop singers, they don't have to do much. Lots of them have come back time and again to help. Elton, for example, did the School Aid tape, which we sent to kids in schools in England. And the amount of trouble he had to go to get that to us, you know, he did it 3 times around the world and it got lost. Eventually he did it in LA and it got to us. And, you know, people say, well, so what? Well, this is a guy who's doing an album, doing a tour, doing interviews, doing rehearsals, and still he goes to a studio to talk about food. And that shows a lot of commitment. He's a good bloke.
Well, he's finished his album finally, and here is yet another track off it, and I think it's going to be a hit, Nikita, Elton John. All right, that was Oz Crawl with one of the major groups on Oz for Africa with their new single, Trouble Spot Rockin'. As I said last week, it is going to be a hit. All right, now listen, Bob, I mean, we talked about Elton. There's a lot of different personalities that you were able to pull together for Wembley that I didn't quite think was possible. I mean, obviously, you actually said in that press conference that day, Phil Collins, and he'll probably play with everyone, which, I mean, he went to 2 continents to do it. Bono, I mean, like, I thought they may question certain parts of it as far as their whole thing with U2 is concerned. And Sting, I mean, Sting can be a very cynical sort of a character.
He can, yeah, and I mean, the weird thing was that Sting used to be very egocentric as a person, and we used to, like, be brittle to each other, you know, we'd rub against each other. And now, for some reason, he's changed, and he's this very kind, outward-looking guy. And a radical change. I mean, seriously, like, he's really different.
Right.
And yet, like Elton we were talking about earlier, it's not as if these guys did Live Aid and said, that's it. It seems like they're unbearably proud of this thing they did, which they can be justifiably, just like anyone who's watching this who helped to be proud of it. And they keep coming back to help. They say, look, can I help with this? Can I help with that? And when we launched the Live Aid book in New York, they all pitched up for that.
Which has got us all a bit puzzled because it's not out here yet.
Well, I guess it'll be coming out before Christmas because I'll look into it right now.
It's a great book, I like it.
Yeah. So he did a lot and still continues to do a lot.
Okay, well, in the meantime, a very successful album with him and some great singles. And here is his new one, and it's Sting with Love is the Seventh Wave. Okay, thanks, Gavin. Well, it's a beautiful day here in Sydney, and we're both enjoying it before Bob goes, in fact, back to London. I've got to ask you, what did you think of the Oz for Africa part? As far as the input is concerned.
As far as the input, it was crucially important. To link 3 continents, in effect, was one of the major television technological achievements, and then to throw that around the world. And it also got the whole of Australia stimulated and brought in Asian interest and stuff like that. And I haven't had time before, and I haven't been able to thank the bands individually, but if I could, and if they're watching, thanks a lot, guys. You know what happened. I mean, we got $6 million from the Australians, mainly because of your efforts, so you did great.
I've just got to say, I mean, like, we were very proud of that particular 4-hour broadcast. I mean, I'd never seen so many people pull together for one cause.
Yeah, it's a weird thing. I mean, like, I've seen it now, like, not just with musicians who've given the example, but in every single, like, trade. Like, I'm going back to London now for Fashion Aid, and I got to tell you that they are the most fractious people to work with, you know, with their peculiar sensibilities, you know, and like, yet they've all these guys who are very much in rivalry, you know, modelling each other's clothes and doing this big number. It won't be as big as Live Aid, but I mean, it'll make a lot of money, and it's happened time and again. It's weird.
Okay, talking about models and fashion and models, one of the finest groups around that we're very proud of. We're one of the big features on Eyes for Africa, and would you like to introduce them?
Again, because it's them, I'll thank them individually. For the models who are watching this tonight, thanks very much indeed, guys, and keep going at it. This is their new single. It's called Cold Fever. It'll be a hit.
Okay, that was the UK Top 5 for this week. Thanks, Gavin. Listen, I was just talking about Prince Charles and Princess Diana, and 4 of our groups are going to play in front of them tomorrow night.
Yeah.
Your own personal opinion of Prince Charles and Princess Diana?
Prince Charles, I think, is a very clever guy. I mean, highly intelligent. I happen to agree with an awful lot of the things he says. I was up with Richard Neville yesterday in his house, and Richard Neville is this old anarchist, and he started saying that Prince Charles is saying more things for more common people than anybody has done in a long time, and I happen to agree with that. Not only did they commit themselves to Live Aid on the day.
I was going to ask, I mean, did they enjoy themselves, or was it just another thing they had to go to?
People said they went off to play polo. They didn't. They went off to have lunch with their mother, who was, they had an appointment beforehand. But like the following 2 days afterwards, they made a personal contribution of their own money to Live Aid. And following that, Prince Charles asked me to come around and talk to him, and he put me in contact with guys who I normally wouldn't have met, who've been able to help a lot, and were in fact working with some of those guys. So, I mean, and she is a very funny person. I mean, I think she's a laugh, you know, she's a good person.
Okay, well, let's hope it's not as funny or serious as the US Top 5 for this week.